All right, guys, we're back. It's another episode of the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. Today's guest is awesome. He's doing what I'm doing, real estate, of course. And you said you're out of the Denver area, correct?
That's correct.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, and we'll just kind of go from there, man.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Anson Young. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. Lived here my whole life, except for a couple of years. We tried a couple different places, but didn't really enjoy them. So we always end up back here.
Yep.
Always talk about, where we would move, and it's always like, no, we're good. We're good here. So
Yeah.
I've been doing real estate since about 2005, on and off for a few years, and then really got serious about it. Got my license and started fixing, flipping, wholesaling, wholetailing. We'll do agent stuff here and there for investor clients if they want to do a house hack or if they want to buy some more rentals here in town. Which the numbers don't make a whole lot of sense, but they make them work on the appreciation play, I guess. So
Yeah.
So that's me in a nutshell, and kind of what I'm doing today.
Awesome, man. So 2005, you were just ahead of the last little, what we call recession, your end of the world. How did your business handle that recession? Did you have to evolve into a new game plan at that point?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I look at it as a constant evolution. Like,
Yeah.
you can't do the same thing for any length of time without changing it up, to kind of keep ahead of your competition, one, but react to the market as well, or try to stay in front of it. And so when I started, we were actually living in Phoenix for 2 years, and those 2 years in Phoenix saw 44% appreciation year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's insane. It's not sustainable. Everybody and their mom's talking about real estate. My hair, when I had hair, my hairdresser was talking about flipping houses or buying lots and flipping them right away.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew, like, the smart me now would say that that's the time to get out.
Right.
The dumb me at the time said, this sounds awesome. I want to go make, 30 grand on a lot or whatever.
Right.
I had no clue what I was doing. So I kind of got lucky with my very first property in Phoenix. It was a live-in flip. We lived in it for a year, kind of fixed up the rest of it. And right when we sold at the end of 2006, I swear the market changed like 2 or 3 weeks later when we moved back here to Denver. And it was kind of the beginning of that downturn. So I kind of started seriously, back here in Denver when things started falling. And so it was an interesting time having no reference.
Yeah.
I just thought, like, this is the cycle that I keep hearing about, and I'm going to try to make the best out of it. However I can with my limited knowledge. It helped me to not have any preconceived notions of what to do. It was like, this is what it's doing, and this is how I'm going to try to do it. And every year, you got to analyze what's working, what's not, and react. So when MLS deals are plentiful, that's great, but they won't be there forever. So we moved to REO, we moved to short sale, and then the market, did so well that nobody's upside down anymore. And so we moved from short sale to, off market. And then that's a whole branch of evolution as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you mentioned your hairstylist there and talking about flipping lots. And I forgot to rewind time a smidge and ask you how or why you chose real estate. Is it it's what you heard was making a bunch of money at this time, or, why'd you choose real estate?
Yeah. So I started off my working career in IT and network admin, systems admin. And like everybody, in about 2003, I got laid off. All my friends in IT were getting laid off. We're just kind of that tech bubble, I guess. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do from there. Like, my dad was in technology systems for 30 years, survived 17 rounds of layoffs in his career, and just got with the same company too. So he just kept getting lucky or being the right personnel or whatever.
Right.
And so I kind of grew up in that environment of like, well, layoffs are coming,
Right.
If we survive these ones. And the very last one, he didn't survive. He did get laid off, but he was at retirement age. So he took his severance and then retired. And so he very much lucked out, 17 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I didn't want I always knew that I didn't want my fate tied to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that really kind of bothered me, but I had no idea what to do. And so, I took up a bartending job and I really enjoyed it. Like talking to people and just kind of, it felt like kind of was messing around, but I was actually making, as much as I was in IT. So I was like, maybe this is what I want to do. I'm good at it. But I knew it wasn't sustainable. Couldn't do
Right.
it forever. And so, we decided to move down to Phoenix to be closer to family. And right before I left, a friend of mine handed me Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so,
Oh.
like everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
it was the gift that changed my life basically. So I read that like crazy on the way down there. Literally, like when I wasn't driving the moving van, I'm reading this book like crazy. And my wife's like, "You should drive more." Like, no, this book's awesome. So, um, ended up reading the whole thing, and I was kind of like, "New city, new me," right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have, we have decent savings. I can just go get a bartending job anywhere, and my wife landed a job right away, and so I kind of had this freedom to kind of explore this new thing.
Yeah.
So I just started getting linked in with all the RIAs, whoever I can get in front of and learn from. And that took about a year before I actually like pulled the trigger on any kind of deal.
Right.
Doing jobs for other investors and agents, um, going to everything that I could to learn as much as I could. So yeah, it was that book just shifted, and it, in that move shifted too. Where like, hey, we're in a new place, let's try this out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That book. I think that book is probably the mindset shifter for thousands of people. I mean, I would say because just about every single pockets podcast I've listened to, that was the book that changed their life.
I know, and I know it's cliche,
Yeah.
but there's a truth to that. There's definitely just going from like I didn't even know that stuff like this existed.
Yeah.
I read it, and it's not a how-to book, but it's definitely it'll it'll turn your entire perspective right
Yeah.
around, and that's huge. That maybe that's the kick that you need for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's been quite a while since I've read that book, but I remember thinking, what? How's that even possible? And then when he bought his Porsche and and his wife forced him to go get a rental, I was like, that's pretty freaking smart. I can buy whatever car I want.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back up your depreciating assets with cash flowing asset, and it was definitely a mind shift from there for sure.
That's right. And I remember having conversations with the same guy who gave me the book, and we were talking, kind of about rental stuff at the time. And I was like, you get one mortgage with a bank. Like, why would anybody lend you like two mortgages? Like, and
Right.
that's how small my mind was before I kind of going down this road of exploration. And
Right.
it
Right.
all started right there.
Okay, so you thought, like me, getting a real estate license was like the go-to gate opening thing to real estate investing. Is that kind of what I gather there?
I mean, kind of. It was, moving back to Denver felt like another shift where I felt like I was starting all over. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have any of the contacts that I'd built up over 2 years. I didn't have, any sort of market knowledge that I had built up over 2 years. And so I felt like starting over. So the first thing I did was um, one of my best friends, Andy, got me a job on a realtor team. And so, again, in the spirit of like doing whatever it takes,
Mhm.
I joined and I just started doing BPOs for this realtor. And so it's a broker price opinion for,
Yeah.
you know, uh, homes that are possibly going into foreclosure. And so I figured this is a good way to make some money in the meantime and to learn the market. And
Yeah.
so, being part of a retail agent team, uh, you do kind of get infected with that traditional retail agent, like they have, they dress nice, they drive nice cars, their job seems pretty easy. They just
Right.
show some people, go to some closings. Life's easy, right?
Yeah.
And so while I was kind of getting over the fear of pulling the trigger again in a whole new city for a new deal, I figured it wouldn't hurt to get my license. At least I have access to comparables, MLS, tax
Mhm.
records, all that stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you know, it maybe cost me $1,000 to get a license, and it's worth it. So
Yeah.
why not? Why not just jump in? And and I did like traditional retail real estate for about 6 months, and then realized I hated doing 10 showings on every Saturday and
Right.
and all that stuff just wasn't for me. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a hybrid of what you're talking about for sure. Like I thought this is a good entrance into this world. And I've
Yeah.
never regretted not having my license, and I've had it for 13 years now.
Yeah.
So
Well, that was my thing is when I decided to get into real estate and I had no idea what I was doing, uh, I always thought we had to have money. And it was before I learned about wholesaling. And so I read the book by Gary Keller, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
yep,
And I was like, well, that's a no brainer. I'm just going to go get my real estate license. They all drive nice cars. They've got to be making good money. And then I'm
exactly.
just going to build this team because getting leads is super easy, right? Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. And yeah, same deal. I think I was like 3 or 4 months, and I was like, "What the hell am I doing?" This is
Yeah.
it was killing me. I learned from Joshua Smith out of the Phoenix area.
Well, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
He has a Keller Williams team, and he does some coaching, and he has a bunch of like programs you can buy. Anyways, he was the one selling at the time the mega open houses. So I went out and bought like 20 or 30 open house signs, the big flags, like the whole thing. And I was holding these mega open houses every weekend and had the buyer sign up sheet, and months would roll by and I wasn't making any money. I was like, dude, what am I doing wrong? And so at that point, I was like, man, all right, there's got to be a different way to get into this real estate thing. And that's the way I discovered wholesaling. But um, yeah, I mean, to this day, I still hold my license like you. It's been 3 years. I've been in Texas. So um, same deal. Keep it. It's great for running comps and getting access to tax records and such. And for me, I often get asked, well, is it a benefit? And I say, sure. I mean, with my marketing, by default, I get quite a few listings, and I can help out family and friends on the buy side as well, and list my properties. Of course, that's
Right.
obviously pretty nice. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. As a fix and flipper, having your own license or someone on your team or your spouse or somebody who has a license. And
yeah,
I always tell people like I save that 3%, sure. If I'm
right,
buying on MLS, I get 3%. But all things being equal, if you and I are going after the same seller, um, if our rehab costs are the same and our financing costs are the same, um, I can actually buy that house for more. I can offer the seller more money, and we would make the same amount of money. You would have to pay your 5 or 6% or whatever. I only
mm-hmm.
have to pay 2.8 to someone else, and I could potentially be 10 grand higher than your offer and win the deal based on just the fact that I have a license and I sell it myself on the back end.
Right,
So I've never regretted it once. So I think it's a
yeah,
great tool to have.
yeah. And I found it really helps build confidence within some of the sellers too,
Exactly.
because you've got to disclose it. So they know there's a governing body behind you, making sure you're legit. So
Yeah, I say
uh,
that all the time. I'm like, I have this state agency that's ready to drop the hammer if I'm
yeah,
doing something crazy. And I
exactly.
at least have a public record. You can go on there and check my license status and to see if I have any complaints or black mark. And I have zero. And so I can't be going around screwing people over
Right.
my license. Like that keeps, it doesn't, I'm an honest person, but that keeps me very honest. Like I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize my license for sure. And the
Exactly.
same with state contracts. Like I don't know about where you're at, but since I'm licensed here, any real estate deal that I do, I have to use state contracts. And
Mhm.
so I always, it's like a not 2-page thing written on the back of a napkin. It's, literally been vetted by um, teams of lawyers, and there's nothing funny in there. And I can
Right.
explain every single piece of it. And so that does build that confidence, like you said, in oh, this guy is just more than just running his business out of the back of his van or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That same deal here is we'll use the same 1 to 4 family contract, and I'll let them know this is the same contract you signed when you bought this house. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same one we're going to use to have you sell this house, and any other real estate transaction, well, residential real estate transaction that you've been a part of. It's gone through this contract.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
Yep. And that's huge. I mean, you're talking to people who maybe do, they average person sells or buys a house every 8 years or so.
yeah,
People like us buy, you know, eight a year or eight a month or whatever that is.
right.
We have those reps in, and you're trying to talk to somebody who this is a huge, scary thing. And the
Yeah,
more things you can do to make them feel comfortable, that you're legitimate, that you're trustworthy, and obviously you have to back all those things up, but make them feel like this is the right thing and that they're not getting screwed in some way.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So I'd like to ask you, because you're primarily single family like me and many others. You had mentioned you started out in REOs and short sales, roughly something.
Yeah, it was about that time that I
Yeah,
started. Those were
yeah.
those were coming up for sure.
So as times had turned and those weren't so readily available, or the deals weren't as good as they used to be, um, do you do your own marketing or do you buy from wholesalers solely?
So, so I do buy from wholesalers here and there.
Yeah,
There are maybe like two decent sized ones that have decent deals.
right.
Denver is an interesting market where we act a lot more like the coasts. We're very much more like Seattle or a Portland than a Kansas City, and so we have deals are tight, everything's tight. And so we don't have wholesalers who come and are doing 10, 20 deals a month. I think our biggest ones are maybe doing 10, and they have a staff and send out huge marketing and all that stuff.
Really?
And so that faucet's very much dripping.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I have to go. I network. I ask for referrals, and then I do off market marketing. I used to just call it direct mail, but now it's like a stacked approach of 10 things to try to make it um, as as efficient as it was just doing one thing
Right.
3 or 4 years ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a blended approach of all those things. I haven't bought an MLS property in like 3 or 4 years. Like
Mhm.
the time to deal ratio is it's not worth it. It's not worth the time.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Searching the MLS is one of my weekly calendar events that I need to do. But every time I get in there to go look for deals, I'm like, man, this is such a waste of time. I don't even know why I even bother doing this anymore because I've literally never bought one off the MLS. So I'm like,
Oh, okay, okay.
maybe eventually I'll get one, but I'm like, man, I'm wasting my time doing this crap. This is annoying.
Yeah. And there was a
Uh,
time honestly where that's where all of our deals came from. Like,
yeah,
and I loved it. Like
that's
I,
crazy.
I always say like my favorite time in real estate was when there was just no emotions involved and we were just buying REOs.
Mhm. Yeah,
We can send out 20 offers a day, and there's no like nobody's getting offended that you're lowballing.
yeah,
That the listing agent knows what's up. They don't care. They're like, I'm just going to submit it to the bank and see what they say.
yeah.
Manager has no emotions in it. Yes,
Right.
this work. Um, that was a really fun time because you could you could scale that up if you wanted to send out 100 offers a day, or if you
Yeah.
wanted to go into new markets. Like we did Phoenix investing from Denver when REOs were plentiful because
Mhm.
you could just send out blast offers and get deals, and that went away pretty quick. And so so yeah, you have to move if you're still an MLS buyer trying to bang your head on that.
Mhm.
You didn't realize that everything shifted out from under you. You're broke or you're out of business at this point. Like there's there's not enough deals on MLS to sustain a flipping business. Definitely not a wholesaling business.
Right. I mean, there's just well, like you said, you're offending so many people making the offers. It's like, man, this is like beating my head against the wall. And and every so often I will make offers in the MLS. I'll go in there and I'll figure out which one's been sitting longer than like 120, 150 days. But you go and make these offers, they're obviously overpriced and they're not selling for either price or condition. And then lately, I'd simply have realtors straight up ignoring my emails and phone calls with my offers. I'm like, man, you guys suck. But, or am I just the dummy wasting my time on the MLS because I've already sent all my direct mail and I'm just bored over here trying to do something.
Right. Yeah, they got smarter over time. Like agents then realized like if you weren't showing the property,
Yeah.
you were just sending in a sight unseen offer, you were more likely to fall out. Or you were a wholesaler. Like 5 or 7 years ago, agents didn't know what a wholesaler was.
Right.
So I get my commission, cool. Like I saved the day with my client, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And then now, now they are getting, 10 offers and like 8 are sight unseen. 2 have actually seen the property.
Right.
And I mean, as a listing agent, what would you do, right? For the best interest of your client, you'd be like, these people have not seen it and they're more likely to fall out, so it's like that reverse.
Exactly.
As the wholesaler, you want them to accept your offer so you can roll and do what you do. But I get the listing side too, where you're like, I'm looking out for the best fiduciary duty to my client. So, so we ruin everything, unfortunately. Like whether it's marketing or these kind of tactics, they get caught on to eventually, and then you have to shift. You have to move to the next thing and adapt and evolve, and kind of move forward. Otherwise, you're dead. So
yeah. For me right now, I'm in the middle of that because in the DFW area, there's so many wholesalers and other investors that are sending out marketing. I about a month ago, I turned off my foreclosure and substitute trustee marketing because every single phone call was, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm going to foreclosure in the next couple of weeks and need about to sell my house." And you're one of 13 phone calls I'm making today. I'm like, oh God, I'm not even going to bother. And so I almost immediately just, unless I can't lock it up over the phone, I'm like, I don't even want to look at it because I know I'm not going to beat these other guys.
Right.
And unfortunately, we're seeing, I don't know, you may or may not be seeing in Denver, but we're having wholesalers go lock up a house higher than anybody else can. So if I'm offering, say, 90, they're going and offer 105. So of course, sellers are going to take that.
Right.
And then 4 days before foreclosure, like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. We didn't know there was such and such wrong with the house. So we have to do a price reduction to 92. And they're literally going in and doing it on every single deal. I'm like, oh man, I mean, you can never compete with that.
Yeah. And that's, that to me is not how I would do business.
Right.
Just to get the deal or just to get in the door. I have seen some of that, but I don't know anybody who's doing it on a that's their business model basis. That's really unfortunate because you're there to help somebody in like a really bad time,
right?
And you're going in knowing that you're going to screw them at the last minute.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
And you guys are the birthplace of kind of the wholesale brokerages, right? So like New Western, Net Worth, those companies. So you have a ton of competition down there for sure.
Some of those New West and Net Worth, I don't think they're playing those games.
Right.
Everybody hates them because they sell their deals at 80%, which is, I mean, whatever, more power to them. If there's somebody buying your deals at 80, 85%,
right, then
go ahead and do your thing all day. It's the other ones that really need to get the bad rap because, they aren't doing things to, be protecting the public like we all should be.
Right. Exactly. And if somebody complains to, your local troubleshooting news network, all of a sudden all investors look bad. So every deal from that point on is harder because if they heard that story of these people screwing over people in foreclosure, that person in foreclosure who saw it, who's now getting all this marketing, is like, oh, these are all scammers. There's no way I'm calling these people. And, it kind of ruins it for everybody in the name of that short term.
Yeah.
You can get away with that for a while, but it'll catch up to you eventually. I hope.
Yeah. We don't need none of that. We definitely don't need to be getting a bad rap to where we can't even get any leads online anymore because everybody's so scared. of what's
Right.
going to happen.
Right. Right.
But yeah, no, I hear you. And kind of back to what we were initially talking about is kind of just molding with the way the market's going. A lot of my direct mail has stopped because there's so many people doing it. So it's forced me to do other things. And I've tried to be, kind of like the innovator in certain deals. For example, had my VAs cold calling, and then I realized, crap, everybody's already cold calling, and I'm the 14th person to call them today, and so they're pissed off by the time I get to them. And then it was RVM, Ringo's voicemail,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all right. I wasn't getting yelled at too much, but I wasn't seeing the success rate that I had seen other people's get. So I think I was late to the show on that one. And then mass texting,
Mm-hmm.
and man, I had more people threaten to turn me into the attorneys general. I'm like, good lord, all right, I guess I'm done texting. And so now it's just I'm making a big push to be more of a top of mind kind of campaigns, more social presence, more branding, and more just like my last house I bought off of Facebook. Never met the lady. She just randomly messaged me, said she had seen me doing what I'm doing, and she had a house that needed a little bit of repairs, and she wanted to bring her crazy rambunctious boy out to the country because she was in the city life, and I got a deal straight off of Facebook, so free lead, free free marketing, and it worked out great. Just closed it last week, and so I think I'm going to keep pushing that while doing. I still do some probate marketing, and I do driving for dollars because you're more likely to have a unique list that nobody else is mailing.
Right.
But those big niche lists, I'm just like, oh my god, it's such a bear. And,
Right. And I always look at it like this. I look at it like I just did like a kind of a shifting market talk in Kansas City last week. So it's kind of top of mind, but
yeah,
I always look at it like a hierarchy of like the easier the information is to obtain, the more competition you're going to have, right?
right.
So here in Denver, we have like 19,000 realtors or agents, and so MLS, there's 19,000 eyes on every single deal that comes out.
Yep.
19,000 times. Let's just say they have 3 clients each, which isn't the case, but that's a huge amount of people looking at each one of these deals, right?
Yeah.
So as inventory goes lower, we put on like 6,500 properties a month. So we have like a month and a half. Excuse me. We have a month and a half of inventory. We have a really small amount of inventory. So you have 19,000 people looking at 6,500 listings.
Yeah.
Like the numbers there, that sucks.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really hard to cut through that noise.
Yeah.
And so, the kind of the second favorite the list that people land, foreclosures.
Yep.
That's public information, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's as easy as going onto the county website, pulling a list, and boom, you can call them, mail them, knock on the door, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That list is so simple and easy to get. Then all the gurus talk about high equity, absentee,
Yep.
ownership. And I can go to ListSource right now
Mm-hmm.
and pull one in almost any county in the entire nation.
Yep.
That's a super easy list to get. And so exactly like you said, so it's either methods that people aren't using to kind of stand out, even like a medium high competition list.
Right.
Or you do something like driving for dollars where, most of the leads that I get from there, I'm like one of one that they're talking to.
Exactly.
They don't fall on the probate. They're not getting a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have enough equity to hit everybody's high equity list.
Right.
And they're not in trouble. Usually, it's just usually their house looks like crap.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason it landed on my list.
Yep.
So I want to be one of one. Like
exactly.
Like if somebody's going, somebody's doing a wholesale auction, on the front lawn, and they're like, 15 investors are showing up, and it's going to be highest and best.
Yeah.
I just go, I'm not going to bother. Like, I'm going to go direct my efforts to be one of one or one of two, and really focus in there, because the easier the information is, the more competition you're going to have.
Yeah.
So what can you do to niche down pretty much everything?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's been my number one push this year, because last year I was still learning the marketing branch of it, and I'm really bad at tracking KPIs, and I realized by the end of the year, I was like, man, I kind of made a lot of money, but where did it all go? And then I determined that with all the marketing, I was just trying so many different approaches, all shotgun approaches, and so I think about the past, I don't know, 6 months or something. I was like, man, I really need to dial in what I'm doing and stop competing with everybody else. So that's when I kind of started thinking about turning off the foreclosure ones. I started doing probate marketing a little bit differently. I won't send out the first month or two ones where everybody else is doing. I'll start month 3 on up to like a 6-month campaign. That way, because to me, the first 1 or 2 mailers is like most companies follow-up campaign. They're going to shoot 1 postcard out or maybe 2 the following month. And so they're going to grab all the people that want to sell now where there's not too many motions or they're facing some sort of debt related to the property. And I'm trying to capture the ones that 6 months down the road are like, okay, now I finally want to get to this property and get rid of it. And instead of being one of 14, you're one of 5 companies that had stayed following up with them. So
Right.
I'm getting better numbers with my probate marketing that way. Um, and then I started stacking lists,
Right.
lists that were hard to find, not necessarily hard to find, but took more effort. Like you said, the low hanging ones like foreclosures, because here we can get what are called water shutoff list,
Okay. Yeah.
and you have to request them from the county. And it's a public records request, and it takes a little bit of time, follow up, building the list, having somebody scrub the data from their crappy PDF list into an Excel file you can actually mail merge, and then I'll stack it with code violations. Same deal, public records request. You have to do quite a decent amount of work, and that list is performing better than my foreclosures has ever performed
Right.
because it's just harder to get. Exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and I think I think that low hanging fruit is a really good analogy because I think everybody's just going after that lazy,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think the masses of your competition are just going after those really easy, lazy lists or those lazy deals. And
Yeah.
if they go to the county and they say, listen, or the city, they're like, listen, I need a water shut off list. And they're like, we don't provide that. But then they don't realize that they have to do a FOIA request to get it,
Yeah.
go through the steps and the follow up and word it right and ask for the right thing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for some people that's just too hard. They're
Yeah.
why is my thing not working? But then they're
Right.
really not putting in the effort to actually find out how to get some of these things that
Mm-hmm.
maybe only 10 people in that county have actually done the FOIA request for that list. I want to be one of 10. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
I can beat out, 10 people more often than I can beat out, 100 people for sure.
Yeah. If not by highest bid, but by the rapport you've built.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think it's sense the genuine urge for us to help them, then I think I've won many just because not because my number was higher, but they trusted me more.
Right.
So I'd rather
Yeah.
compete against 510 instead of
Right.
whatever 20. Yeah.
And I talk about that a lot. Like number one reason I'm there is to help because usually they're in a situation where they need help.
Yep.
And then, if you help people and you're do it the right way, money comes no matter what.
Yeah.
Like you alluded to at the beginning, like sometimes listing their house is the best thing,
Yep.
and having that tool in your tool belt is huge. And
Yeah.
and you're doing the right thing for them, and then the money comes that covers your marketing or whatever. And so yeah, and then building genuine rapport wins more deals than almost anything else. They're going to go with somebody that they like and trust.
Yep.
Maybe sat down at their kitchen table and asked about their kids, and and if you're genuine about those things, it's huge. Where I think a lot of people aren't. They're there for the money. It's just
Yep.
one of 20 appointments or whatever that month, and that's just how they treat it. And I just try to treat them like, hey, this is a person, and they're going through something that I never want to do, and I'm in a position where I can help them. And so
Yeah.
let's make this a win-win, and let's make a new friend.
Yeah. Right. I mean, like you said, I mean, they're in a situation they don't want to be in. And oftentimes the sole reason they wait until like the last minute to get a hold of somebody is because they're embarrassed. They don't want to talk to anybody about what's going on. And so if you can, sit down and ask them or just simply listen to, their problems, it may start out that, they simply have financial issues and then you discover, a spouse had a medical condition or, whatever. They had to support their daughter who was going through school or whatever the situation was. But like if there's more than say 45, 60 days before the foreclosure, we're going to list that house first. And then we'll have a game plan on if this doesn't get sold by X day, then, we'll throw in my offer and make sure it's not foreclosed on. Whereas, most people don't have that option or they don't care to even offer that option if
Right.
they're not licensed. They don't have a realtor on board to help them with those situations. They don't care.
Right. And that method is definitely outside the box for both agents and for investors. Like
Yep.
agents going in for the listing.
Yep.
If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. Well, that was the market,
Yeah.
And then investors, their only option is really to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so I think that's a really good think outside the box method of approaching them and just saying, listen, we're going to try the best thing first.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work, we're going to make it a win-win and make sure that you don't go through to your sale date.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. That drives me nuts when I know a certain house is in foreclosure on the MLS and it's still active listing and we're 2 weeks before the foreclosure date, and then they won't pick up the phone, they won't answer emails, they won't do all these things
Right.
just to hear me out. Like, holy crap, I can save your client. It doesn't matter if they lose a little bit of money now, but it's better than a 7-year ding on their credit. Like, it drives me nuts. But
Right. You're like, you can still get paid.
yeah, right. Yeah, you're still getting paid. In fact, if you want to, you can try to grab both. You can do,
Right.
you can represent me as well. But they're all about, because it's ridiculous to me where they try to haggle over, whatever, $20,000, $40,000. It ends up being like $600 to them. Like, really? That's
Right.
ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, on the commission side.
Yeah, but cool. Okay, so marketing. What would you say is your biggest business model? Because for me right now, at first I was like, I'm going to flip. That's cool shit. I'm going to be, that guy that flips houses. But now I'm like, okay, how long am I going to hold this property? Should I wholesale it, hotel it, or flip it? And so now I get it, clean it out, put it on MLS, and we'll see what happens.
Sure.
What are you doing for that? Because I often get asked that question by other up and coming investors, like, well, how do you decide? And essentially, to me, it's just I want to hold it as least as possible, the least amount of headache, while still making the money I want to make. So let's say I'm making 30 grand in a 2 to 3 month period. If I can pull off 10, 15 grand now, I'm going to go ahead and wholesale or hotel it. So is there a certain model you just gun ho go after, or do you evaluate every single one differently?
Yeah, I think I evaluate every single one differently.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to the point where exactly like you talked about, where you can just throw it on MLS first, see what the market brings, and if that doesn't work, then you can always just pull it, rehab it, put it back on the market 2 months later.
Right.
And by then, at least in our MLS system, it shows up again as a new listing.
Yep.
Anybody calls and was like, why was it listed, 60 grand less?
Right.
So, just say, hey, we're just seeing if anybody wanted to buy it just as it was sitting.
Right.
After 2 weeks, we decided, hey, we're just going to fix it up and provide a brand new property for everybody in the neighborhood. And so, yeah, it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Some are definitely, if it's outside my wheelhouse, if it's like works better as a rental, if it's in a historical district, if it's in a problem city, we have like 2 like kind of really small cities inside of Denver that are just kind of a nightmare on permits.
Right.
I will wholesale those all day long.
Yeah.
Because it's that headache factor, and so I don't want to deal with property that's in a historical district. Get everything approved, and I definitely don't want to deal with those permit issues. So
yeah,
those are a no-brainer. Those are usually just out the door. and then we'll take it on a case by case basis from there. But we're primarily flipping,
Yeah.
and then as you know, as we get more inventory, we'll definitely wholesale the rest of them out. So
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of same way I am. A lot of my issues, because in the beginning, I was getting a decent amount of deals, but it was a money issue. It couldn't get enough either hard money available or private money available. And I actually didn't get true private money until just a couple months ago. So I was hard money every time. So the closing costs were just destroying me. So if I had two, three, four houses going, it didn't make sense to go spend 10, 15,000 on closing another house until
right,
I had one done. Um, so that was my bottleneck in the beginning. And same deal like you is if now I know the cities where the headaches are at as far as permitting goes. Like I have a house right now where it's like, holy crap, I'm literally never going to buy in the city again because that freaking plumbing inspector is driving me nuts.
right,
Um, and then I try to tell my mom, I was like, because my mom is always sending me historic houses. And I'm like, Mom, it would be an awesome project, but I don't want to spend 6 or 9 months on it. And if it was built in 1890, I don't want the headache. As cool as a project as it would be, I don't want to deal with it.
right.
And but I think she just wants me to buy it so she can go walk around and work on it for
Yeah,
a
she can have the experience,
yeah,
without
yeah.
the risk.
But yeah, same deal. Um, which kind of parlays into the next one. So you like the flipping model primarily. Same deal with me. Depends on another factor of mine is distance. If it's more than 45-ish minutes away, I probably will just try to wholesale it. But a lot of people like to, or oftentimes ask me, how are my financing the deals? And, like new wholesalers, new flippers, they can't believe that there's ways of financing deals with little to no money out of pocket. So, um, how did you start out financing, and how are you financing now? Has there been an evolution, or have you had private money from the beginning, or whatever?
Yeah, there's been a small evolution. Like my very first deal, that live in flip, was literally just a regular bank loan.
Yeah,
Um, and we were trying to decide at the time, when I had no idea what I was doing, so we tried to like lease option it. We tried to rent it. I
yeah,
really had no clue what I was doing, so we ended up just moving in and fixing it.
yeah,
And so um, yeah, so started there, and then moving back into town here. My first deal back was a partnership deal, where it was like one of those funny things where I was with Keller Williams at the time, and went out to lunch or coffee with another agent who's just down the hall. Similar age, cool guy, still really good friends with, and we are talking about this thing, and I had an REO that I was looking at, and I was like, man, I know that this is a deal, like.
mm,
And so I'm telling him about it, and I'm like, I got this deal. I can put a contract on it today, and I can have it like almost guaranteed locked up. I was like, but I don't have the funding behind it. And he was literally like, my wife just sold a house that she had before we were married. I have money and I have no deals. Like, I have a deal and I have no money.
mm-hmm.
So we literally, like, right there, just decided to partner up on it.
Yeah,
And that was a great way to do it. Kind of starting out.
yeah,
He ended up doing providing the funding, and he did all the work. And he's great at what he does. So he did everything inside, and so since it was kind of a skew, like I found the deal, but he did the work and brought the money.
yeah,
I think I made like 40%. He made 60%.
right.
Totally fair.
Oh yeah,
I had no money in that deal.
yeah,
I get a check at the end, and I was like, "This is sweet."
yeah,
And
right.
yeah, right. So and I've partnered on and off here and there over the years, but um, I did quickly find um, through a friend of mine some private money that we
Mm-hmm.
use. We kind of share, a pool of 5 or 6 guys. We kind of share, lending with
Yeah,
these guys. And so, and actually, I was just talking to him yesterday, and I was like, hey, I can go raise money, but we've had a good relationship for so long. Like, why don't we go raise money together?
yeah,
So then we can maybe attract bigger investors who can know that their money is going to be put to work.
yeah,
over the course of a year instead of like a onesie twosie thing. And so yeah, so it quickly kind of went to private money, and I've always realized, like, if you're not prospecting, if you're not raising money at all times,
Mhm.
you are going to run into those gaps where, maybe your four guys have a bunch of loans out, and then you're ready to close on a deal, and they're like, sorry, we can't. Like, we don't get payoffs for another 2 months.
Right.
You're either stuck or you're back into prospecting. And so,
Yeah.
whether it's contractors or plumbers or electricians or money, you should always be looking for the next guy.
Yeah.
And and I've been caught there a few times where I was like, if I have no money for this deal, I'm just going to wholesale it.
Right.
And even though I thought I had, 3 million at my disposal, it's not all mine. It's
Right.
between a number of different people who lend from these guys. So
Right.
who borrow from these guys. So it's it's a juggle, but I think partnership, even bank loans, if you have a W-2,
Mhm.
can be great. I mean, can't beat those rates for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That somewhat similar. I've been hard money up until just a couple months ago. But same type of deal is got my first wholesale, got my next lead, flipped it with hard money. And then the very next lead, same deal. Went to my buddy who bought my first wholesale. I was like, hey, I know you do some lending. You want to lend to me? And he's like, no, you're broke as crap doing the other project. How about we just partner? So
Oh, no.
same deal. I found the deal. He funded it. His crew did all the work, and we split it 50-50. I was like, genius. This is awesome.
Right.
So not only did I get to monetize the lead um, uh, with more money than I would have wholesaling it, but I also got to see the ins and outs of how he ran his business, which ultimately molded kind of how I do things. And then, yeah, same deal. You're always in a fight for, am I going to have money to close this next deal, or is my crew? Am I keeping them busy enough, or are they having to go shop for other investors to go work for? And then I don't know, something about my life is I can't keep a plumber to save my life. So I'm always looking for new plumbers, and yeah, it's always something. It's a constant search for money, contractors, deals, and that's just what we're all used to now at this point. But
Right. Right. Exactly. And that
yeah,
partnership model. I mean, I know guys who have been doing this for 5 or 7 years, and they're still in a partnership model where they go, um, you know, they don't want to deal with the day to day of the
yeah,
flip. They're good at marketing and finding deals,
right,
locking them up. Then they pass them on to basically their partner that they trust to
yeah,
do the rest of that work. And there are days where I definitely envy that when I have to deal with contractors and inspectors and
oh yeah,
all that fun stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's not just a newbie model. There's guys who are experienced who are just like, I'm good at this part and I don't want to deal with that part. And so they
yeah,
basically outsource it to their partner who they trust will get it done. So
yeah.
I like both ways. And I get it. I get it on both sides for sure.
Yeah, yeah, same thing. Or I've done, I don't know, maybe a handful of partnerships since then. And as long as you have the terms of that relationship outlined, who's doing what, and you're not stepping over each other's feet, it works out just fine.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, as long as it ends up being a mutually beneficial transaction for you both, then it's no brainer. Got a deal done that may or may not have been able to go through to begin with. So
Right, exactly.
yeah, yeah,
And
I
that
think it's a
might
good
that
way.
might open up your time to go find more deals or
Exactly.
implement new things. And so instead of being stuck in project management or dealing with contractors, you could
Right.
actually do maybe what you're better at. I don't know.
Exactly. You said you're going to go raise money with your partners there. You thinking of doing like a hedge fund type deal, like a true entity around it, or just go make those connections and it's just a handful of people you raise or get money from?
Definitely that second part. Yeah, just more about, hey, let's go make some new connections.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a little while since we've raised some new money, and so yeah, so why not go get a couple more million that we can have at our disposal, uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I'm all about relational. I think the guys who do syndication and hedge funds and that kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. I know I wouldn't be good at it. Right,
Right.
that level of detail and
Yeah.
really pooling that much money together. Probably not my thing, but I can go sit down and talk to people, show them what we do, and over time build the trust there so that, we can have like a phone call relationship where it's like, I need this deal funded. I'll send you a
Right.
package. And they're like, cool, the money will be there.
Yeah.
I, I value those relationships and that relational lending um, a lot more than just trying to pull together everybody's IRAs and trying to
Right.
make it work. So,
No, yeah, that definitely makes sense. That's the way I look at it too, because the syndications and I think the hedge fund thing would be kind of cool, but be more of a hedge fund that was used for my own assets. So,
right.
like I told you in the beginning, that I kind of want to get into storage facilities. It'd be cool to um, just know where the money's at. So, if I had a fund with 2 or 3 million in it, I knew when I made that LOI to that 20,000 square foot building, I knew where the money was.
Right.
But same deal as you, the syndications, they seem cool as all get out. I mean, it'd be cool to be a part of one, but I don't know anything about doing a syndication or which syndication class or what is it, the 503 CA or all those things or not. That's the charity one. I don't even know. So there's two different types of syndications, and I couldn't tell you which one to start with or how to even do one. And like you, the attention to detail, I can get it done, but I
Right.
think for me, it's a little bit easier this way. And making that phone call or even a text message sometimes, which is kind of cool,
Sure.
saying, "Hey, I got a new deal," works out a lot easier and smoother. I think right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think that if I jumped into that space, I'd be part of a syndication
Mm-hmm.
first to kind of like learn. I know a couple guys who do, who syndicate, and so I feel confident that I can have somebody that I trust, and then somebody who can kind of maybe walk me through some of the pieces that I
Right.
don't understand if I ever want to jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like that's also a shiny object, and I'm kind of focused on what I'm doing here right
Right.
now, and so storage looks amazing. I follow some people who do a lot of storage, and uh, the numbers are great. And if whether you're building or buying existing and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it looks awesome. But I know that I don't have the time bandwidth to wrap my entire head around it at the moment. So I kind
Right.
of like, those are cool. I'm gonna try to stay head down and do what I do and get better at that uh,
Yeah.
before branching out. So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to put a roadblock in your current business trying to
right,
attack something else, and then you either succeed and flourish, or you end up slowing down your main business and depleting assets and savings while trying to pursue something else that could potentially be a longer term benefit, and it could be a detriment at the end or a great benefit. But
right,
there's definitely some cons to trying to, like you said, stay in your lane, or the shiny object thing
right,
is easiest way to, or the best way to perfect your skill.
right. Are you finding on the storage side like things are getting a lot harder on that front? Like everybody's kind of got their eyes on that direction or multifamily, and so kind of
Um,
these mom and pop operators are now getting inundated with calls and mail and
Not yet. So, what I got in the real estate, the end game was to get into commercial, um, because to me the flipping is cool, it's fun, but it comes with a tremendous amount of headache and time consumption. And my goal from the beginning has always been freedom, which is why I named the podcast. But at the time, I didn't have any idea what commercial meant. I just saw big giant numbers, and I saw giant lease agreements with big cash flow. I'm like, that sounds cool. That's what I want. But I thought it was like, I had to have a couple million in the bank before I pulled it off. So as I've dug into in the past 6 months, you do see a pretty big saturation right now. It's a hot topic. It's sexy. Same deal with apartments, and everybody's doing apartments. So
right,
what I've tried to do to stay away from the competition is I don't shop with brokers because that's where you're going to find the 6, 7, 8 cap deals that aren't worth attacking.
Right.
So I do direct mail to properties that aren't in the major metro areas.
Sure.
So, and it doesn't always mean necessarily a small mom and pop 5,000 square foot complex. So some of these have been upwards of 40,000 square feet. They just built them 30 years ago and have self-managed since. But there's a little bit of competition, but if you can get outside of the target area of these big syndicators or the people that do have millions in the bank, the deals are out there. It's just getting them at a price that makes sense to you as a solopreneur.
Right.
With a couple private money guys. Yeah. So
that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know on that side how much people were ruining it for everyone else, but
yeah, I would say 98% of my sellers that have called me have never got a mailer before.
okay.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And I like it more, not only because there's a great potential for cash flow, which I don't have now. I built myself a giant 9-to-5, basically.
Right.
The sellers, they want to sell and they're not necessarily motivated to, but they're more open to creative financing, and they just want to sit around and BS to who I am and why I'm in real estate and why I want to buy their storage unit or mobile home park, because they bought it for cash flow and they understand it. So,
right.
And I've had several of the old timers in their 70s, like, boy, when I was your age, 30, so some of the conversations end up being an hour of just BSing instead of
right.
Somebody calling me and yelling at me because I mailed them in there in foreclosure and I'm a snake. So
right.
it's been pretty cool. But anyways, back to your point, I haven't seen too much competition unless I'm talking to a guy that owns 30,000 square feet in one of the major cities around here. Then they've probably talked to a dozen other people.
Sure.
But
it sounds like there's good opportunity there if you're, if part of the 98% they're calling you, even if they're BSing for an hour.
Yeah.
You're sending a follow up. Hey, thanks for the conversation.
Yep.
Here's some of this, and then you insert some of the stuff that you guys talked about and you kind of keep that top of mind. So when he is 85 and he's ready to finally sell, he's like, oh yeah, I remember that nice young man.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he has, I like that guy. He's young, and I want to sell to him.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a really good opportunity there to be to value add yourself into those into the mind of those people for sure.
Yeah. And what I've discovered is let's say, and it varies on markets, but you can be into a 10, 15,000 square foot storage unit for 300,000 to 500,000. That's essentially one or two houses, but it gets you some like serious cash flow.
Right.
A lot of these ones that are out in the boonies are completely 100% occupied, cash flowing like crazy. And you're getting, or you're offering at like 14 plus caps. And so, you're not having to raise millions for these ones that are outside of town, and the ones that are on the outside of town, it's a fence, security fence. Maybe you have some power on site for a camera,
right?
And a lot of times there's a lockbox on the front gate, and there is no management, and maintenance is virtually nothing. So
yeah,
I love the model. I have yet to buy one, so I can't speak from like actual true experience, but I'm probably in talks with about 8 of them right now.
Okay.
It's just determining their financials and getting them back to me has been the bear right now. But yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's been fun.
Cool. No, yeah. that sounds awesome, man.
Well, cool, man. You have a book.
I do.
And it's gone. It's like for BiggerPockets. This is what I use to kind of build my knowledge bank when I was learning real estate. And so I've read a lot of their books, but unfortunately I haven't read yours. But yours is Finding and Funding Great Deals.
Right.
Can be found in BiggerPockets.
Yep.
and want to give us a little snippet about it and what motivated you to write that one?
Sure. Yeah. So, so basically, the book, and it went through some evolution of its own in the process of writing, going back and forth with BiggerPockets on what they wanted to see, kind of what I wanted to see. But I think it ended up in the best place possible, which is, it's not a book about finding rentals, and it's not a book about finding fix and flips or wholesales. It's actually all of those things. It discusses formulas inside, but it gets you from basically zero knowledge all the way to the closing table. And I always say, like,
Nice.
I don't care what you're doing with it. Like, I don't care if you burn it down the next day. I got you there. And it was a
Right.
good deal getting you there. So it talks about marketing, deal analysis, market analysis, networking, referrals, more marketing, negotiation, contracts,
Yeah.
all the way to the end of kind of what to expect at closing. And then the very last chapter is kind of how to repeat this model, how to how to backwards, flow your KPIs to see, how much marketing you have to do to get the amount of deals that you want to do. And,
Interesting.
pretty standard stuff on that front. But it,
Yeah.
it kind of packages it all nicely together. It's like, hey, now we're at the closing table. What do you do for your next, 10 that you're going to do?
Yeah.
And so the motivation was really, I honestly, it's going to sound bad. I wasn't motivated at all to write a book. It wasn't like I have this brilliant idea and I want to do it.
Right.
It is me being in the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
where talking to some of the BiggerPockets guys, the first evolution of that book was maybe a wholesaling book. So I wrote a few chapters, got those approved for a full book, and then we kind of changed the scope of like, well, what would this look like if it's just finding all deals?
Yeah.
I got way more excited about that, um, and so yeah, it's a process trying to do that on top of a full, investing
Yeah.
job plus,
Sounds daunting.
yeah, plus being married and having a kid and everything else and all of just the normal life. It's very daunting, but we made it work. I'm very proud of it, and the scope of it turned out to be exactly what it needed to be.
Yeah.
And all, so I'm very happy with that.
That's awesome. No, it's
Yeah.
great. I mean, I don't know of many books that walk you from A to Z on the deals.
Right.
So, and then digs into KPI because, like I said before, I suck at KPIs.
Right. Right.
Mostly in part because I hate that stuff like paperwork and drives me nuts. But
No, man, I'm the same way. We're both like high D, high I's. We don't do the details and the paperwork.
yeah, it drives me nuts. Well, cool. I'll make sure to get a link. You can only find it on BiggerPockets, or can you find it on Amazon?
You can find it on Amazon.
Cool.
It's at most Barnes and Noble stores if you walk in.
Oh snap!
Should be there. And yeah, BiggerPockets, you can get like kind of a package where you can get like the audiobook plus extras.
Yeah,
If you want to, if you just want to go through Amazon, that's easier to do that too. So,
yeah. Awesome. Okay. And then if people want to reach out to you, ask you some questions, maybe lend to you, bring you a deal, what's the best place for them to find you?
so I think the best place is actually through my BiggerPockets profile.
Okay.
And let's see, it's biggerpockets.com/users/Anson. And
Okay.
that should take you right to my profile.
Okay.
And yeah, just message me through there. I get a lot of messages through there for professional, so I just kind of kept it there.
Yeah.
My Facebook or something else where
Right.
there's a blend of personal and professional. Like I think that's where we connected
Okay.
was through Facebook. But yeah, I think the BiggerPockets is the best place for that. And,
Okay.
and yeah, and definitely reach out and connect if you read the book and you like it. Let me know. If you hated it, let me know. If you have a question about something, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty open book. So
Cool, man. And then I ask everybody the same thing on every podcast. If you had 6 months to live, what would you do with it?
oh boy, that's a great question. So if I had 6 months to live, oh man, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I definitely get some traveling in, spending really good quality time with my wife and my son, and and really just put aside everything that doesn't um, that everything negative, things that don't make sense, things are wasting of time,
Yep.
and really just and spend that time wisely every second. And I know we should be doing that every single day, of course.
Yeah.
The back
It's
end.
hard. Yeah.
But yeah, really pay attention to what matters. And if I had 6 months to live, honestly, I would try to create something for my son that would live on, whether it's advice or um, you know, something that he can have after I'm gone.
Right.
In having that time, you should be able to put something together like, hey, I won't be here for graduation, but this is what
Right.
I think you should do, and stuff like that. I think that would be two good uses of time right there.
Yeah. 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 And the reason I asked that question is because it'd be nice to, do whatever you want all day.
Right.
But for me personally, get wrapped up in the day to day. You're so busy. You don't often take time to think about yourself or family or, why are we doing what we're doing? And ultimately, it could be cut short for, whatever reason. We got idiots all over the road texting right now. So, and then, the weight and burden of regret, if you do end up on a deathbed now or later, is you don't want to be laying there thinking about the things you wish you would have done or said. You want to be thinking about how you freaking killed it. Like you made every effort to do everything you wanted to do, as far as your dreams and business and family was concerned. So that's fine. That's why I asked the question.
No, it's a great question, and it's something that's been kind of top of mind a little bit lately.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to BiggerPockets podcast from a couple episodes ago, and I don't catch them all because there's just so many of them. But
a lot, yeah.
And the person was talking about like you have a limited amount of summers left, right? Whatever that is. So I just turned 40, so maybe that's top of mind too. But let's just say I live to 80. I have 40 more summers left.
Yep.
How are you going to spend them?
Man, that seems so short, huh?
It does, yeah. Like
40 years sounds like a long time, but if you break it down to 40 summers, you're like,
right, yeah. What am I going to do this summer that I'm not wasting?
That's crazy.
And so that's, it is a little bit on that dark side. On one hand, but you can spin that into something very positive where you're like, man, this is going to be my best of the next 40, and then the next one's going to be better than that. And I think we do lose track of that scale of time. I think humans are really bad at that. And so, if we can condense it, I know that there are some like date calculators that's like, you have these many days left. And that just stresses me out.
That's too much, yeah.
But like, if you just say, hey, 40 summers, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
That's a huge push to, for that urgency of time, right?
Yeah.
Like, could I build a rental portfolio in the next 3 years that'll feed me for the next 37 summers? Like, that's 3 years.
So doable,
yeah. And so I'm working on stuff like that inside my head and trying to get it down on paper and plans and stuff like that, so I can go. This urgency, it needs to be kicked up a few notches.
Yeah. So. And that's kind of like the reason I went in commercial now instead of later is to me, the single family rentals are great. Got great appreciation. You get the equity, and ultimately you've got incredible equity in 15, 20, 30 years. But your cash flow is so small for the amount of money you have to raise. So, you're banking on what, 300, 500 bucks, where if you raise that same 500,000 for storage, your cash flow is like $3,000. And so the exponential growth of the ultimate goal of freedom, I think, again, I'm not versed in it, yet, but like, for example, I almost had, and I was working on it with a partner here, but a $1.3 million purchase would have got us $8,000 a month in cash flow.
Whoa.
Whereas, and he was willing to own or finance it. Whereas, I can't do the math right now. You're running out of time, but that's 8,000 divided by 500. That's 16 properties at roughly 150,000 a piece. I mean, that's well over almost 3 million in capital. So I think it's a quicker way to get to where I want to go. And that's why I chose that, because like you said, if you can build that rental portfolio in 3 years, you get 37 other summers to just really do what you want without the stress and burden of money and, bills.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, exactly. I've been transactional for too long. Like,
yeah.
enough people were kicking my butt even 3-5 years ago that were like, dude, you need to transition.
No, they're killing me too.
Yeah. And so now, now I'm just starting to listen to them like an idiot.
Yeah.
I listened to them a long time ago, but yeah, transactional, like you just, like you said earlier, it's just a bigger 9 to 5 job. I just get bigger checks.
Yeah.
We'll have the headaches. So,
And incredible tax implications.
so true. So true.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate it. This has been a super long one. I'm sorry to take you away from everything for so long, but I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. No, this has been great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom, and we'll catch you on the flip side, man.
Sounds good, man. Thanks so much.
Catch you later, dude.